118-104. Tonight, the Bucks visit the Nets for Game 5 in Brooklyn.
Welcome to the Audrey Dahlgren Show. Get ready. We're going on athletic adventures all over the great state of Michigan. And the show begins now. Here's your host, Audrey Dahlgren.
Happy Tuesday, and as always, welcome to the show. This is going to be a fun one today, and not just because it's the hashtag Tuesday Tune Show. We're talking college hoops and a whole lot of running, so I guess this is the perfect time to share my tune for the day. Everyone has a pump-up song that they like to work out to, and for me, running is my happy place. I never used to listen to music while running because if you're a serious runner, you don't listen to music, okay? But I've advanced from that stage in my life, and I need music now. So, anyways.
Can't say I relate to that one.
Yeah, so, all the serious runners will tell you that, you don't listen to music because you're at one with your thoughts. You enjoy the road. You enjoy the trail. You enjoy the track.
I'm that way a little bit with snowboarding because a lot of my friends and stuff, when they snowboard, they have their headphones in and they're listening to music. I hate it. I love to hear the sound of the snow and the carving and the wind going by my face. So I guess I can relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like back in high school and stuff, when I was, like I said, a serious runner in training and super competitive, no, I did not want to listen to music. But now I'm older, and I just like to leisurely go out there for my runs. So I'm all about listening to music. And so the one song that has kind of just been like right at the top of my playlist, and I usually listen to it on repeat a couple of times, is a song by Joyner Lucas and Chris Brown. It's called I Don't Die. It's sort of aggressive, but it keeps me booking down the road. And so here it is.
When you got more problems than me. Yeah, I'm cool, but you don't want to see that other side of me. And my mobbing depot, I'm a prodigy. I know that you've been envy.
Do you listen to the clean version on your run?
Absolutely not. I do not.
Yeah,
I know. I do not listen to the clean version on my run. No. Alex, do you have a song that you like to listen to when you work out?
Let me pull one up real quick. When I work out,
you have a pump up song?
Yeah, actually, I have it's weird. So this started off when I was in college. I'm gonna have to find it real quick, and I'm gonna have to find the clean version as well.
So yes.
So it was the reason being that this was the first song I would listen to every single time I would work out, because I would start my workout with like a core circuit. And the intro, like the interlude or whatever to the song, was roughly 2 minutes, which is exactly how I timed out my ab workout. So I would do it, and then I would change like each of my routines or whatever based on the song. It's Dream and Nightmares by Meek Mill.
I think I've heard this song.
I'm sure everyone. I'm sure you have for sure. I'll play it right now. So it's coming up. Did not have it queued. Sorry, audience.
No, that's okay. I put you on the spot.
You ready?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, now it's buffering. Sorry.
Okay.
So this interlude right here was exactly the length of what I would want. So this was my workout.
Awesome.
Start.
I love it. It's perfect when it times out too with how long you need it for.
Exactly. So I'll fade that one out.
Love it, though. Okay. Well, and don't forget, too, if you have a hashtag Tuesday Tune you'd like to share with us, you can do so by putting it on my Facebook page, The Audrey Dahlgren Show, or on Twitter at Dahlgren Show. And remember, you can always listen live to each of my episodes by downloading the Spotlight Radio Network One Touch app. I had some people reach out and ask why we didn't have a show yesterday. And that's because Michigan State basketball's Max Christie was made available for the first time since he and Jaden Akins arrived on campus on May 24th. And I've said it before, but this kid is impressive. So well-spoken, and he does have an incredible basketball IQ. The adjustment from high school to college can always be challenging, especially when you're joining a program like Michigan State and a conference like the Big Ten. And it was one question he was asked about yesterday. He was asked how the transition has been so far, even though it's still really early with it being June, but he said it's been really easy. The players, coaching staff, everyone has made it really easy for him. But the hardest thing is he's realizing that he's on his own, which is, kind of cute in a sense because he's in college now and he's, trying to take care of himself. He has to do his own planning and making sure that he's on time for everything. All that comes with, being away from home for the first time. I think every college freshman experiences that in some way. But he wants to be able to run the floor when talking about goals for next season, fill the lanes. He wants to be a shooting threat and be able to space the floor so, he can not only shoot from anywhere, but also facilitate, and hopefully that helps with his other teammates on the floor as well, get them open shots. And so that's pretty important. He was also mentioning how the strength and the speed is different at every level, and he's noticing how fast-paced Michigan State plays. The strength of all the players is something that he's noticed as well, I guess, and just how strong they are. And so it prompted me to ask him a question related to that. So here is that brief exchange from Monday's Zoom call.
I want to go back to the lifting aspect in terms of we see all these social videos of you guys getting in the weight room, getting after it. How big of an adjustment has that been for you when it comes, because you said you felt like you might be in pretty good shape coming in here, but how has it maybe been a little different, or are you in the good shape that you thought you were?
Yeah. It's definitely different a little bit from my typical weight room. I know back at home when I used to lift, there obviously we weren't lifting as a team. And so coming in here, lifting as a team, having that, that energy that's felt throughout the whole weight room, the encouragement that's going on, and just the excitement that goes on, even though weightlifting sometimes may not be the most fun thing, the fact that you're doing it with the team and the fact that you're doing it with such high energy makes it something that you look forward to sometimes, because you're obviously getting stronger on the basketball court, but also you're bonding with your teammates, helping them push through, some hard lifts or some hard workouts. And so it's been really fun actually in the weight room, just getting, to know the team and having that energy in the weight room. So that's the biggest adjustment, I'd say. Just the energy has been lifted up.
Does strength coach Marshall Rep have a specific weight or that he wants you to be at, or like what is he envisioning for you personally when it comes to you?
Yeah. So as the season comes around, I think he wants me at around 200 pounds, a solid 200, not fluttering 200 and all that kind of stuff. So I think a solid 200 is what he wants me at by the season comes around. And I have a lot of time to make sure that I get to that weight when the season comes.
And how important is that going to be for you as you make the adjustment from high school to college to get that weight on and to be a little bit stronger?
Yeah, it's definitely really, really important. As I said earlier, one of the biggest transitions, I think, for any basketball player when you're going from level to level is the strength difference. And so being able to make sure that you're strong enough to take those bumps and those hits from those bigger guys, especially when you go inside the paint in a really loaded Big Ten, being able to be strong and being able to be balanced and have a strong core or whatever it may be, just being able to be strong when you attack the rim or whatever you're doing on the basketball court is really, really important. So I'm going to make sure that I reach that weight and I'm working hard in the weight room.
So he is very impressive. Like I said, I walked away from that interview, I see now, we've been seeing, and you can see now, why Tom Izzo is so high on this kid. And the other thing about the interview that didn't air in that portion, but he had a really amazing answer to expectations for him as a freshman. And he basically was just like, we're in college, I'm 18 years old, I have no reason to really be stressed about what other people think about me and how I play basketball. And that's such a mature approach to it as a freshman. And so he gets the game and what it's going to take to be great at the game, which is why he is coming into Michigan State as a 5-star recruit and has a really good chance of seeing some solid minutes on the floor this year for the Spartans. So, all right, love the college hoop talk there, but now it's time to transition. I do have a very important guest that is going to be joining us now. His name is Liam Boylan-Pett, and not only is he the creator of Lope Magazine, but he was the 315th American to run a sub-4-minute mile. He's an alum of Bath High School, making him a mid-Michigan native, as well as Columbia University. He lives in Michigan now with his wife and their dog, Tim Dunks Duncan, and also does freelance work as a reporter, editor, and producer who contributes to Bleacher Report, SB Nation, NBCOlympics.com, and Runner's World. So with that being said, I'm so excited to have him on the show today. Liam, how are you? And did you go for a run already today?
I did. Thanks for having me so much.
How far did you go?
This morning was 4 miles. I'm planning on doing the Crim 10-miler at the end of August, and I've set myself with a probably too lofty goal of breaking 55 minutes, so I'm just starting to get ready for that. So I did some hills and some 800s too.
All right. Well, where do you find, I guess now, the best hill work to do that? Where are you finding yourself, getting out there?
Well, the best would be out in Bath, my hometown, but right now I live in East Lansing, so I'm just finding some side roads, I guess, in old Chesterfield neighborhood. I'm still figuring out the neighborhood names, but
Gotcha.
just some dirt, some side roads.
There's nothing like running on the dirt roads. So, well, before we reminisce, on the good old days, let's get into Lope, because you celebrated the 3rd anniversary of the magazine yesterday. And so how exciting was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I started Lope, for just a little background, I guess for lack of a better word, I'm like a running nerd to probably the fullest extent. I ran in college, ran after college, ran as much, I still run, as I just told you, and I was working in running for a long time. I worked at Runner's World, and then I worked for an ad agency, and then I got a job outside of running, working at Columbia, my alma mater, and it was in development, and then I just still needed to talk about running, so I started this magazine. And it's basically, I do one big story per month. And yeah, I looked at the calendar yesterday and said, I think I'm pretty close to going up on 3 years. And then fortunately looked at the date, and it was the actual date that I published my first piece for Lope. And now we're 34 issues in and going to have some fun over the Olympic trials, which are coming up starting Friday. Going to be not one issue per month, but we're going to do a few recaps and have some fun with an artist I'm working with. So it's going to be pretty fun to follow along the Olympic trials. Yeah,
that's amazing. And we'll get into more of that in a little bit later, because I do have some questions on that. And so, you speak, though, to all the wonderful stories that you've been able to share over the years. And so as you are, reflecting and looking back, what are some of those favorite stories of yours that you have shared and you would love for people to know about if they don't already know about it?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite, I have an immediate favorite, and it's the story of Hugh Burton, who's this guy that I met. Actually, at my wife's law school graduation, the keynote speaker mentioned a runner who had been wrongfully convicted of a crime, and the law school, Rutgers Law School, was helping him out, and I just had to learn more about it because it was a runner. And so I was working at Runner's World at the time, but then throughout, I think it took 4 years for us to publish his piece, but he ran the 2016 New York City Marathon, while he was still fighting for his innocence, and he was accused of and convicted of committing a terrible crime. They convicted him for killing his mother, and he maintained his innocence from age 16 on. And then finally in 2019, they were able to dig up some evidence and kind of prove that he had been coerced into a confession, and he was exonerated. And I was able to join him in the Bronx that day and kind of celebrate with him. And I wrote a story about it, and it's called Innocent People Don't Run. And it's still, I'm still very proud of it. It was selected as a notable for the Best American Sports Writing of 2020. And it's just a story that I'm really proud of and happy to bring up anytime, because I think it's one that needs to be told.
Yeah, there are so many stories like that when it comes to running. You've mentioned several times how it is a feel-good sport, and also mentioned too that, like any sport, it does come with its drug use, and there's sometimes cheating, and, running is such a hard sport when it comes to accomplishing goals too. There's no question about that. It can be a roller coaster in your mind, in a sense, when you're trying to accomplish a PR or, get a certain time or these expectations. But the one thing that I really love that you've kind of spoke to and you write about a lot is just the purity of the sport always shining through. And so describe to people what that purity is and, how it's just kind of led to you sharing all of these stories.
Yeah, running for me, purity is a very good word. I think that it just is something, for me, I used to be a part of a team. Relay races were my favorite thing. The top moment of my running career was when I was at Columbia and we won Penn, and that's one other story that I'm happy to talk about, and I would probably for too long if you'd let me. But
we can talk about that.
But no, running is this thing, and now it's a little different for me. I run with my wife a lot, but then I also run by myself, and I'm doing this 10-miler, and mostly just to see what I can do because I haven't really trained for a race in a long time. And it's something that there's going to be ups and downs. I'm going to feel like crap, for lack of a better word, some days, and I'm going to still just hopefully go out there and do it. And that's what I like about running is, yeah, I'm not anywhere near where I was when I could run in the 2012 trials or trying to run in the 2016 trials that I didn't qualify for. But now it's just kind of fun for me, and I'm hoping that I can see some gains, even if they're not quite up to the level that I once was at.
Yeah. And the Michigan is a story that I really enjoyed. Because some of it too, I thought, it's funny because you mentioned, oh, well, of course, we're going to start this out with like a Steve Prefontaine kind of thing. But I mean, come on, really, when you think of running, you think of Eugene, Oregon and Hayward Field and all of that, how can you not bring up Steve Prefontaine? And, a lot of coaches, though, they kind of will point to him and how he trained in some ways. And so will you just share that story, the Michigan?
Yeah, so the Michigan is actually, it was, I think, the second story I wrote, and it remains the most clicked on story on Lope. And it's just, so the Michigan is this workout that is kind of, I guess, diabolical, for lack of a better word. And Ron Warhurst is this old school guy who he's a storyteller. He says, hey, Liam, come on over here. Let me talk to you. I actually ran into him at a bar not too long ago. I was messed up, and he was sitting at the bar when I went into the restroom. But he's just this guy who's a storyteller, and the way he tells it is he was sitting there thinking about how to get his guys ready for a cross country or a track race. And it's this workout where you start out with a mile pretty hard. I think the suggested thing is 10K pace, and then you go kind of pretty much right into a 2K tempo. So that's, once again, you're not really breathing easy when you're doing that. And then you come back to the track, run a 1200, and go back out to the 2K loop, do that, and come back on an 800, do one more 2K, and then close with a 400. And what Ron says is AUG, which is all you got. And it's just this workout that, and it's funny because I get clicks all the time on it, and every once in a while somebody reshares it again. And now we have Hobbs Kessler, this 18-year-old kid from Ann Arbor who ran 3:34 for 1500, which was like my dream time to run for 1500, and he did as an 18-year-old, and now Ron coaches him, and he has a shot to make the Olympic team this year. I think it's a kind of a long shot, but he still has a shot, which is just some amazing, amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, to think, too, of that time is unbelievable. I mean, to be running around that time. Describe that, too, because, I mean, you used to be a professional middle distance runner, and so, to give people the idea of the number of hours that goes into running professionally and just what your whole day looks like.
Yeah, my situation was somewhat unique, although not as unique anymore, just because it is the sport of track and field is not some big money making industry. The best runners do make good money, but the middle of the road ones make somewhere between $30,000 and $70,000 per year. So it's not like, oh wow, look at the glamour of a professional athlete. And when I was doing it, I actually was working at Runner's World at the time, so they were very nice in letting me go to workouts with my team and letting me run. But it's just, and for me, it was good. I don't think I could have been able to just run all day, every day, and then go recover and play video games, which some people do. But some people are great at that and can then go run 3:33 or 3:31 for 1500. But yeah, it's just a lot of time, and it's a lot of mental energy. And I think that's one of the tougher parts that a lot of people don't think about. And it's something that I often think about is my only regret about my running career is I do wish I would have seen a sports psychologist, because I think sometimes I really struggled getting up for race day when I had been putting all this energy into training. And I think it might have been good to figure out a way to handle that better. So that's the only thing that I look back on my running career kind of wishing I would have done differently.
I can relate to that. I mean, I wasn't nowhere near a professional side of running, but I do think back to being in high school and how the training aspect, and I think maybe we've talked about this before, but like you put so much effort and energy into training, and then your race day rolls around and you've kind of exerted yourself, or, managing that, which I think is really important. It is important to see a sports psychologist. That's such a great point that you bring up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just would have been really helpful. You nailed it right there with what you said about just already exerting so much energy. And so it's finding a way to, you can take that for real life too, if you're ever just like really overdoing something and then not being ready on the day for your work life or whatever, or something like that. But it's really just trying to find a way to, enjoy it and kind of be in the moment so that you are ready for those big moments.
Yeah. Do you, when you think back to when you were able to break 4 minutes in the mile, Where was that, and what race was it?
Yeah, so it was actually, I was in Penn State. All my best running moments happened in Pennsylvania, and I'm not the hugest fan of driving through that state, but it's treated me well running-wise. And I guess it was Penn State 2010 it would have been. Or no, 2009, sorry, because I graduated. I graduated from Columbia in 2008, and then I was at Georgetown doing my 5th year because I had extra eligibility. And so I just raced with some guys who were training there, and we got a rabbit who I think took us through 1,200 meters in like right at 2:59, 3 flat. And then I always laugh because my coach used to bring us into his office and say, dude, the break 4 minutes in the mile, you just come in, you go run 1,200 in 3 minutes, and then you close in 59. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard, right?
We always joke this, it's not that hard. And then I think the week that I did break 4, he said, Liam, it's going to be really hard. And I just remember saying, thank you, coach. It's going to be. And so, yeah, that day I closed in 59.5-ish and ran 3:59.4 and did it with a bunch of teammates there. And it was just this great experience. And then I heard from all my Columbia teammates because I was no longer on the team with them. So it was just, and my family, obviously. And it was just it was cliche, but it was just all you really could hope something could happen like that. And you put a lot of time. I guess when I first started running the mile, I was, in 6th grade. So I spent about 10 years chipping away from 4:54 in 8th grade down to 3:59 as I guess probably like 17th grader. And it was just this amazing experience.
That is remarkable because, when you do think back to, your early days of running career, and that's what I'm talking about is like Bath High School and all of that kind of stuff. And then you mentioned Columbia as well. But like the early stages of your life with running, like what do you think back of and think of, very fondly when it comes to maybe being at Bath and running at Bath?
Yeah, so I had 2 of, in my opinion, the best high school coaches you could have. I had Doc, who is Mel Doc Camo. That's who our stadium's named after, and he was the cross-country and track coach. And so I had him all fall, and he was just this really – he made track fun. He was – I just still to this day, like I enjoy running a lot because of him. And then in track season, I had Mr. Robertson and Howard Robertson. He was the pole vault coach and the distance coach. And he had this, we all joke, he had this computer book, and that's what he called it, with the times. And so, if you could do X by, or, 12 by 200 to X, that meant you could run an 800 in this. And it went from Doc in the fall to being kind of a little more relaxed and fun to Mr. Robertson in the spring. And he was very this is how it's going to be, very tactical. And I think that was a huge help for me. And I know that once they let me, I think Doc told me my senior gift was that the team was going to the Olivet Relays or something like that. And I went to Eastern Michigan for an invitational instead. And it's just my dad and I drove down to EMU, and I raced the guy who had won Division I cross country, Dustin Voss from Saline. And I blew him out the last 200 meters. I think I ran 4:10 and he ran 4:16 or something like that. And the announcers were saying how it's the fastest time since Ritz had run a mile in the state. So it was just like this really cool thing. But I got back that night and saw the team who had just run all of that relays, and Mr. Robertson was like, well, I had you at 4:12 on the computer book, so I guess you were a little better. And so it was just this like great experience to work with a more analytical guy and a guy who was, and Mr. Robertson had me mentally ready too, but Doc had the more fun side of the sport. And so I'm just really thankful that I had both of those guys. They were amazing coaches.
Yeah, and your brother too. Your family, big running family. Your brother has done very well, and on that side, he did very well on that side of it when it comes to running. And so just give people more background too of like how this started in your family, or in terms of like where you got into the sport.
Yeah, my brother is the reason, I guess I can definitely say that too. He's the reason that I got into running even more. We were, I was a Pistons fan, Michigan State fan growing up and everything. And we would go to 5Ks on the weekends. I know I did the Dinosaur Dash quite a few times around MSU's campus. And my mom and my dad both would do those. So it's pretty fun for us. But running, my brother, I think in 8th grade was really good at the mile and broke our middle school's 2-mile record. And then in high school, he got even better. And it kind of went from, we played all 3 sports to we realized that, hey, maybe we can run more than just at Bath High School, because he started getting letters from colleges and eventually got a letter from Columbia. And it's the Ivy League, and we didn't even really ever think of something like that. And so for me, my brother was going to Columbia as a senior. He got accepted, and it's still a crazy thing to us because we feel so fortunate we were able to go do that. But I saw that and I was like, well, this is what I'm doing too. And I've followed him around a lot, and it was pretty great to just be. I was able to be a year with Columbia with him, and he's been the most supportive ever. And then a really funny thing that a lot of people don't know quite as well is that my half sister, Annie Fanta, was also a really good runner at Bath. And I think she has the school records in like the 8, the mile, and the 2 mile, maybe not the 2 mile, but I have the 8 and the mile. My brother has the 2 mile, and she also went to Columbia, and she graduated, I guess, in 2019. And so all three of us went to Columbia from Bath, and we still feel very, very fortunate that we had some great guidance and some great people helping us along in Bath to get there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that was a nice little nugget that you shared there. That was good.
Yeah, and she's actually going back to Columbia to get her PhD in psychology, so she's even smarter than us.
Yeah, she's got that on you. So you do hold the record still at Bath High School.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I guess I got to double check, but I do double check. I don't think so. I know. But,
Liam's in the gym every day, stopping by just to make sure
making sure that it's still up there.
Yeah, when I went back to, because obviously now, like with work, I'll go back to Potterville quite someday for basketball games and stuff like that. And so yeah, I'm bumped off. The record was broken. I'm still up there on the board, but I'm not, in the top spot anymore. So that's okay though. It is.
It's those new shoes. That's what it is.
Have you ever? Just real quick, this is random. I told you about my story at Bath when I lost my shoe there, right?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, I have to tell you. I mean, I've told it on air. I told it on this show a while ago because we were referencing, because as you know, the Greater Lansing Cross Country meet and the honor roll meet are such tremendous meets for
amazing.
Yeah, for people like ourselves or you in a sense, because when you run at a smaller school, that gave you the opportunity to compete against kids in Division I, Division II, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, at Bath, it was the league meet and my freshman year, and I lost my shoe on the back part of the course where the side of the track is, like, do you remember that part? And it came untied. And as you know, as a runner, you're never supposed to look back. You're never supposed to stop. You're never supposed to, do those things. So I just kicked it off and I finished the race with one shoe. And I was able to win. And you remember Katie Forsyth very well.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that's my story. Never found my shoe. I went back for it.
Oh, you never found it?
So anyway.
Some Bath runner probably stole it.
Yeah, you got the inside scoop. So, you should go look for that. No, I'm kidding. But let's circle back to, as you were mentioning, some people, both males and females who have a shot of competing at the Olympics in Tokyo. That's coming up right around the corner. There's actually a guy from Michigan State who spoke with this morning who is going out to Eugene back he leaves Sunday to try to qualify, be a part of the Olympic trials out there. And so, but anyway, who should people maybe be keeping their eyes on when it comes to representing Team USA from a mid-distance to distance standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like Christmas these last couple of weeks. We had NCAA's last weekend, which was just fantastic. And yeah, I think, is it Morgan Beadlescombe? I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. Yeah, so he qualified in the 5K, and I'm excited to see how Coach Senekiewicz has done, or she actually is married now, but I'm blanking on her name. But I'm excited to see how she's done her first year at Michigan State.
Lisa Bresnow?
Yeah, Bresnow. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how she's done. And so I know she'll have Morgan out there. And then I know Leah O'Connor is going to be given the steeplechase a run again. I'm going from a mid-Michigan. She was a Michigan State grad, probably like 2015-ish.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to be in the steeplechase, and the women's steeplechase is always one of my favorite races. The first Lope story ever was about the women's steeplechase. And so you got Emma Coburn there, and who's just a world champion. So that should be pretty fun. And then my two favorite events two of my favorite events are the 800 and 1500. And both those are just a thing. Moo from Texas A&M as a freshman, and she just set NCAA records in the 400 and the 4x4 this weekend at NCAA's. So I'm very, very excited to watch her run the 800. And then the 400 hurdles, the women's is actually probably the best event of the entire trials because you've got the last first and second place finish at last year's world champion, because of COVID, 2019 world champs, who both would have broken the world record, but Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin, that's going to be the race of the trials, in my opinion. And I think the final is not until a week from Sunday, so the 27th. So we got some time.
So when it comes to this situation then, like, are you just going to be like locked in on like live stream or like any way that you can find it? I mean, how do you go about watching the trials?
Yeah, so I do think that they released the TV schedule, and NBC is actually going to be covering a lot of it live. And so I will just be on my couch. I know that when they initially said they were going to allow fans into the stadium this year, I really, really thought about getting out there, but it's just not. And I still just didn't. It's honestly probably better to watch from your TV if you're trying to cover it the way I'm trying to. And so I'm just really excited. I'm just going to be watching it nonstop, having some late nights because it is out in Eugene. So I think the 10Ks are around like 10:30 or something like that. So I'll be frantically typing on Twitter on my phone and watching and just chatting with as many people as I can about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's completely like revamped out there in terms of like the track. I mean,
the stadium looks incredible. When we were there, I know that some people like history and don't want things to change, but this new stadium just makes the old one look like a relic. It's just incredible what they've done. I was watching track with a friend last weekend, and he kept on saying, how is this in the United States? We're not supposed to care about track this much. And it's just this amazing, amazing stadium. So I'm really excited to see how fast and people run on that track, especially because it seems fast.
Yeah, I know. Like, just looking at the photos of it, you're like, you could probably do some pretty good things there. It looks like, just by looking at it. So this is the hashtag Tuesday Tune show. And I have to ask you, I was trying to, so Alex, our producer, you spoke with him when he called you. And I was telling him, like, if you're a serious runner, you don't really listen to music, like when you're running, But a lot of people will listen to some music. But I mean, do you have a song that you like to listen to or you may casually listen to? Do you even run with music?
I do every once in a while. I used to never, but now that I kind of am just plodding along a little slower than I used to and trying not to focus as much, I do every once in a while.
That's exactly what I told Alex. I said, I never used to because I was so serious about it, but now I'm like older and I just am out there trying to kind of more enjoy it than like kill myself. So, but so what's a song that you like to listen to?
I guess I'm trying to think, but so I actually just on like Twitter, somebody posted a performance of it, and I had never even heard of the band, but it's called TV on the Radio, and I was like, how come nobody told me about this before? But it's this song is Wolf Like Me, and it's probably more rocking than I like deserve to say I like, but it's just this song that rocks really hard. So that's probably the song that I would recommend. Wolf Like Me, TV on the Radio for a good fast run.
Okay, perfect. I think Alex is trying to find it. Is this it?
That sounds like it.
Awesome. Oh, I could see why this would make you run fast. It's very up-tempo.
Yeah, it's probably a little more intense than I am in real life, but when I'm running and listening to music, it's probably pretty good for me.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And too, Liam, I kind of want to know, or actually tell people, if they're looking for your magazine and if they're looking in ways to like read the articles and everything, where can they find it? Where can they find you? Give them all the details. Give them the deets, the lowdown on where you can find Lope.
Yeah, well, just head to www.lopemagazine.com. That's LOPEMAGAZINE.com. And then on Twitter, I post probably way too much about Lope in any story I write, and I'm just at Liam_BP. So, yeah, if you want to follow any running stories and if you want to follow along during the trials, I'm sure I will be having plenty of opinions and plenty of reactions to all the great races.
Yeah, and we can't wait to hear your point of view on it all. So thank you for coming on the show. It's so nice to speak with you, and I'm glad you're doing well. Seems like you're doing well, which is good. And I know I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks so much, Audrey. I really appreciate it.
Yep, have a good one.
You too.
So there he is, Liam Boylan-Pett, the great runner from mid-Michigan area. Obviously went on to do some great things and is still doing tremendous things when it comes to the sport of running and just telling the great stories that really need to be told way in-depthly and just amazing perspective on it all. Like I said, if you're a runner, if you've been a runner, or if you're starting to get into the sport and you just can't get enough of it, highly suggest reading Lope Magazine. And so we are going to take one quick break, but as you heard me mention to Liam, there is a runner at Michigan State who is going to be leaving to go back to Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon on Sunday to compete in next week's Olympic trials. So when we come back, you're going to hear from Morgan Beadlescomb. I was able to stop by the Jennison Fieldhouse this morning to speak with him after a successful week last week at the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships.
Thinking of a new air conditioning unit for your home? Hi, Peggy Doty with Doty Mechanical. A new Carrier high-efficiency AC unit will lower your energy usage and increase your home comfort. Current Carrier Cool Cash offers and available utility rebates mean your savings have never been better.
Call Doty Mechanical today at 327-7777 or visit us at dotymechanical.com for your free estimate. For heating and cooling, the names to know, Doty Mechanical and Carrier, turn to the experts.
A report says this year's Apple Watch updates will be small, but next year's upgrade is going to be the one to watch for. Bloomberg says this year's iWatch, presumably called the Series 7, will include a new screen with thinner bezels and a faster chip, a body temperature sensor, and a new extreme sports focus model should be ready to go in 2022. A new blood glucose monitor feature, which could automatically log blood sugar levels for diabetics without them needing to prick a finger to draw blood, could still be a few years away. Microsoft is going to put Windows 10 out to pasture in October of 2022. That means Microsoft expects the transition to the next version of their operating software, which it's going to show off in a couple of weeks, to take around 4 years. Nerf is going virtual. Nerf Ultimate Championship is a new multiplayer shooter virtual reality game coming to Oculus Quest next year. The VR game arms players with new and old blasters for team-based combat in Nerf arenas packed with cheering fans. Tech Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
Boyne Golf presents Michigan's Magnificent 10. 10 extraordinary courses set among 3 incredible resorts with plenty of wide open spaces where the extra long days let you play and play and play. And when you're done, a variety of amenities and charming towns await. The golf's so varied, the accommodations so welcoming, each visit's a new experience. So visit BoyneGolf.com to plan your time here. That's BoyneGolf.com.
New York City will honor healthcare heroes and other essential workers with a huge ticker tape parade July 7th. Mayor de Blasio says it'll be the first true large parade in the city since the pandemic began.
The people kept us alive. The people kept the city going no matter what. We are going to hold a parade.
Researchers at Yale University are looking at the role warmer weather plays in the spread of COVID-19. A new study in the journal Nature Communication found that temperatures of more than 68 degrees combined with high humidity and increased UV radiation can lead to a moderately lower number of new infections in a single person. But researchers are also quick to point out that public health measures like vaccination, mask wearing, and social distancing are still the best ways to prevent infection. Health Update, Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
I'm Tony Cuthbert with your Spotlight Sports Update. The Tigers opened a 7-game road trip with a 10-3 win over the Kansas City Royals last night. Starter Matthew Boyd left the game in the third inning with what was called left arm discomfort. Deco Goodrum had a solo homer and 3 RBI in the win. Detroit sends Casey Mize to the mound tonight while Kansas City counters with Mike Minor. Tigers prospects Spencer Torkelson and Dylan Dingler have been promoted from High A West Michigan to Double A Erie. Infielder Torkelson and catcher Dingler join outfielder Riley Green on the Seawolves roster. The move places 3 of Detroit's top 4 prospects in Erie. The Hawks and Clippers both evened up their respective series. Trae Young scored 25 points as the Hawks defeated the 76ers 103-100. The Clippers took down the Jazz 118-104. Tonight, the Bucks visit the Nets for Game 5 in Brooklyn.
Welcome back to the Audrey Dahlgren Show.
It's my team. It's my quarterback.
the Spotlight Radio Network.
Redshirt junior distance runner Morgan Beadlescomb, who competes for Michigan State University, just got back from Eugene, Oregon, Hayward Field, iconic Hayward Field, as we were mentioning with Liam just before the break. It's where the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships were held last week, and he picked up a PR in the 5,000-meter run, breaking his own school record at MSU with a time of 13 minutes and 21 seconds. He finished in 8th place. He was with the main pack for the majority of the race before the front of the pack kind of broke away in that final lap. That's very tough. And he is 8 seconds away from qualifying for the Olympics. The standard qualifying time is 13 minutes and 13 seconds. So, yeah, he has roughly 8 seconds that he needs to shave off when he gets back out to Eugene, which he's going to leave on Sunday so in a couple of days this week. And he's going to be competing, as mentioned, in the 5,000-meter run. And it's just one of the few topics that we were able to touch upon this morning when I was able to stop by Jennison real quick to meet up with him before he left.
Congratulations, first of all, on breaking the school record, but you already had that record, so it's not like, that's a brand new thing for you. But what was it like to accomplish that in just a historic place like Eugene, Oregon at Hayward Field?
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good race. It was really fast. I wasn't really concerned with time. We knew that it was going to be fast, and we kind of trained for that and prepared for that. Mm-hmm. So, I knew I was going to get another PR. I knew I was going to break it. It was good to get a PR and run fast there. I hope to do it again in another week and a half or so.
For people who have never been to Hayward Field too, describe to them what it's like when you actually get to step onto the track, the gun goes off, and do you have any tingles or anything like that, or chills, or in a sense of wow, there's been a lot of people who've done some great things here at this track?
Yeah, you definitely get some butterflies. You come out of the tunnel and it's just a lot of people. It's really loud and it's really cool. It's a really neat place. It's huge. So that kind of overwhelms you at first, but after the first couple laps, it's just another 400-meter track, and it's another 5,000 meters.
When it comes to your race preparation, how do you prepare, especially in a setting like that, or now as the stakes become a little bit higher?
Yeah, physically we do the same stuff we always do. Pre-meet runs, just gentle, easy run the day before with some strides, and then you prepare, go to see the venue, just get a sense of what it's going to be like, get a plan for your warm-ups. Mentally, you just have to accept that it's going to hurt a little bit or a lot. And then, just get ready for that, understand who's in your race and what's going to happen.
You said that you expected to run fast there. Will you tell people why you figured that would happen?
Just watching competition, the days before, the weeks before, the guys were running really fast. I was going over some videos and watching and seeing some of the splits, and the guys in the race were just running really fast. There weren't a lot of tactics involved with a lot of their races. So I expected it to be the same way, and we didn't disappoint.
What's your tactic too when it comes to a race standpoint? How do you like to approach your races?
I really like to run fast, but I'm not going to jump out in the lead early. Maybe the last 2,000 meters at the latest, or the earliest, I'm sorry. And then sometimes it's the last 800 if my coach tells me to hold it back a little bit. But I really like to run fast times. I think sitting back until the last 200 isn't really my favorite way to race. So I really like to make it go.
Now you said too, obviously you're getting ready to go back out to Eugene, coming up for a pretty important event, the Olympic qualifier. And so how excited are you to have that opportunity to try to compete for Team USA?
Yeah, I'm really excited to go to the trials. That should be a great race. Obviously a lot of great athletes are going out there. 27 guys in my race. There were 24 in the NCAA meet. So there's more guys out there, and they're a lot better.
Yeah. So you leave Sunday. Walk us through kind of what it'll look like for you out there, and how you'll train and prep, and kind of where you're staying, all that jazz.
Yeah, we got a pretty big Airbnb that we're going to be staying in. Me, coach, and a trainer. And then Monday, we'll get out there Sunday night. I'll go for an easy run, probably run from Portland to Vancouver and have my coach pick me up. That's a pretty fun run. And then we'll go to a smaller track on Monday, do a little workout, get a feel for the area, or get a feel for, what it's like being out there again after that plane ride. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are just easy runs preparing for the race, and Thursday I race. And hopefully I race again on Sunday for the final.
And so you're only about 7 seconds off from the qualifying time. That's not...
Yeah, about 8 seconds exactly.
Okay. What do you think about that, I guess, when you see like 8 seconds? Because in some points, there's certain ways where you can cut that time, but then again, kind of just, your thought process on how you're going to cut those 8 seconds.
Yeah, before NCAAs, I'd only run in the Big Ten where, it was either me making it go fast or I would have to take over really early to make a race go. This race, everybody was really good. We had 2 guys break the Olympic trial standard. And just getting used to that level of competition was kind of a shock to the system. So I think now that I've had one race at that, it'll give me a better chance to run faster. But, I don't know about 13:13. That's a heavy task.
Yeah, it's well, like you said, competition, everything will warrant itself. You'll get there probably. Tempering the emotions, too, I think sometimes in running is something that people don't understand. Because if you get yourself too worked up, you could have a bad race.
Oh yeah, definitely. You have to stay calm early. Can't make any huge moves really early on. Everything has to be gradual. You have to understand it's a 3-mile race. So just take your time with it and it'll be fine.
And how did you get involved in running? I know this is like a pretty broad question or like simple question, but how did you get involved in running? Where did it spark for you, the passion?
I used to race motocross, so I ran to train for that, and then I joined my middle school cross country team, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. That's how it usually works. You go on one run, couple runs, and you're hooked. Alex does not relate to that.
I was gonna say I've been on a few runs. I didn't get quite hooked. I don't know. It just I take it all the way back to my knees. I mean, I guess even when I was younger, I didn't hate running or anything like that in youth sports. But it wasn't until I got that Osgood Slaughter or whatever, however you pronounce that, till I started taking a negative mindset towards running. But the pounding for me, not suited for it. But I applaud anyone that does.
Yeah. And I thought it was, this is the one thing that I love about runners is, he's mentioning when he gets out there, he's just going to do an easy run from Portland to Vancouver.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just a nice, nice short jog,
But here's the thing. That's honestly what it's like if you're a distance runner, because in high school, we would have our coach, Mr. Brunk. He would drop us off way out.
Yep.
And about 11, 12, 13 miles out, he would drop us off and we'd run back to the school.
That's how it worked. He would just get you guys in a van or whatever and take you out somewhere. Yeah. No, I mean, I've witnessed the cross country guys like Grand Ledge and stuff coming back from their destinations, and I wasn't jealous of them. Let's just put it that way. Well, what's the furthest you've ever ran in a race?
Well, so
or not race.
I've done a half marathon.
You have?
I have done a half. I've actually done 2 half marathons. I did one in St. Louis, Missouri. That was a great one. And then I also did one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, before I moved to St. Louis. And the one actually, I had a really good time. The first ever half marathon that I ran, that one in GR. I have my time posted. I took a picture, but I was so proud of myself because I think it was around 7 minutes. I was averaging 7 minutes per mile.
Wow.
So, and that was part with it too, is that I really didn't train that hard for it.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Like, what kind of training is involved when you're doing that?
Yeah,
you just get up every morning, kind of just increase the distance?
Well, so every day is obviously different, and you want to space it out in terms of like you'll have your long run days that are just kind of a casual pace, or like let's say if the pace that if you wanted to average a 7-minute mile, you wouldn't run 7 minutes. It'd probably be more between like 7:30, 7:45, 8 minutes as your pace when it comes to your longer runs. But then you would also. But see, I always get faster as the distance increases. And I don't know, I've always been that way as a runner.
Are you aware of like are you trying to keep these paces like in your head? Do you have like a watch or anything that
yep.
you're keeping track of each mile?
Oh yeah, you wear a watch and you're constantly, I'm constantly looking down at my watch to make sure I'm on pace for, where I need to be. And then you'll have your long runs days, and then you'll have like your tempo days where you'll do shorter distances, or you can do stuff which is called like a fartlek, where I don't know, I forget who came up with that that fartlek phrase, but it's essentially intervals in a sense.
Yeah.
And so you'll do like a track workout and you'll run 200, 300, well, usually it's like anywhere between 400 and 800 at a very like high tempo pace, and then you'll do maybe an 800 where it's just like a jog pace, just to catch your breath.
So when you're in the race, you say you're checking the times and stuff. Like if you're ahead of pace, do you tell yourself like, okay, I got to slow down a little bit so I don't burn myself, because you kind of know like what I'm capable of, and if I'm going a little faster than my body might be able to hold up on, I might take it back a little bit so that you can last and keep that pace throughout.
Yeah, there are some instances where you might pull yourself back a bit, but running's such a feel sport. So like if you're feeling really good, you need to go with it.
Yeah.
Like you need to continue to push yourself, and you need to go with how you feel. Because there are days where, and that's what makes running so unique and so weird. And like, it's an indescribable feeling, and you only know it if you're like a runner, because there will be days where your legs feel like you have 100-pound bricks attached to them and you can't move. And then there are other days where you feel like a gazelle and you could just
weightless.
And you could just float through the air and just fly. And so it's really strange. It's
interesting, yeah. Just like because when outsider looking in, when I think of just long races, especially, it's just you're running. Yeah, but I don't realize how much mental approach goes into that, and it's a competition within itself almost.
It's a very calculated sport.
Yeah.
Because before, usually, and Liam brought that up from a sports psychologist standpoint, is because you are, before the race, let's say, we used to do these visualizations where we would lay down in a room, obviously lights are off, there's no other distracting sounds, and you literally would lay there and you would walk yourself through the course to make sure at each point, it'd be like, when you start here and get to mile 1, you should have done this by this point. And when you get to mile 1 to mile 2, you should have, accomplished this part of what you wanted to in your race. And then 2 to 3, and you just kind of like, you break it down into segments like that, because especially too, if you're doing like a half marathon or a long run where you're going, 15 miles, 13.1 miles.
Yeah, you want to break that up into checkpoints kind of.
Yeah, you have to break it up, because if you don't break it up, you are going to overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would imagine, is that different, like preparing for cross country as opposed to, preparing for just the track race, around the track? Is that different, or even from like sprinters to long distance? Like, do sprinters have that same type of? Nah, obviously not. But I would imagine it's almost like a totally different sport.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is. Even mid distance versus distance is, so like mid distance is 400 meters, 800 meters. 1,200 meters.
Okay.
But anything
1,200 mid distance.
That's a mid distance.
That's long distance for me.
Yeah, see, that's considered mid distance.
No,
but anything from 1,600 on is considered distance.
You have a marathon in you on the horizon. You gonna try that out, or you stick to the half?
Well,
gosh, I just the thought of training for that's one thing is like running the 13 miles or the 26 miles, and in my head I'm like, geez, that's a lot. But then you don't even realize to get to that point, you got to run like hundreds of miles beforehand. it's it is quite the task.
Yeah, the training aspect right now with my lifestyle in terms of how many hours that I work, I don't have enough time to train for a marathon. But I do want to run another half marathon sometime soon. But when I do it though, I told myself if I ever train for another half, I'm going to do it where I can devote a ton of energy to it, because I want to break my record. Gosh. I want to PR. I want to PR my half.
I can respect that. I can respect
that. So, yeah. Well, hey, Thank you for being with us today on this hashtag Tuesday Tune show. I hope you learned something about the sport of running. We had a lot of good conversations when it came to it. And so, I hope you walked away and learned something about the sport. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday.